All right, so we're back for another deep dive.
Yeah, definitely. This time we're taking on a bit of a challenge.
You could say that.
Yeah, we're going deep into vocabulary building.
Mm-hmm. And specifically, we're looking at 30 words from the Oxford 5000 list.
That's right, the Oxford 5000. It's a pretty well-known list of the most important words to know in English.
Exactly. And these words are going to be particularly helpful for intermediate learners who are looking to really kind of step up their game.
Yeah, move beyond the basics and start to sound more fluent.
Right. So our goal today is not just to define these words.
No. We want to actually hear them in action.
Yeah, to get a feel for how they're used in natural everyday language.
Exactly. So for each word, we'll say it clearly.
Yep, and then give you 3 simple example sentences.
To show you exactly how it works.
Perfect. Let's get started with the word pronounced.
Pronounced.
You might hear, the doctor said his illness was pronounced.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or, she has a pronounced talent for music.
You can really see how it means something is noticeable or strong.
Right, and here's another one. The B is not pronounced in doubt.
Ah, so it can also relate to how we say words.
Exactly. It's a versatile word.
It is. All right, let's move on to propaganda.
Propaganda. This is a good one.
Yeah, for example, the government used propaganda to influence public opinion.
Ooh, that's a classic example.
It is. Or how about he accused the news report of being propaganda?
Interesting. So it often has that sense of biased information being spread.
Right, and sometimes it's used to highlight how widespread it can be, like during the war, both sides used propaganda.
Yeah. Right, everyone's trying to get their message out there.
Absolutely. Okay, let's tackle proportion next.
Proportion, you could say a large proportion of the students pass the exam.
Okay, or the proportion of men to women in the class is uneven.
It's all about how much of something makes up a whole.
And it's especially important when you need to be precise. You need to add the ingredients in the correct proportion.
Otherwise, your cake might not turn out so well.
All right. Next up, we have proposition.
Proposition, here are a few examples. He made her an interesting business proposition.
Okay, I like that one.
Or, the committee rejected the new proposition.
So it's like putting forward an idea or an offer.
Right, and it can be more casual too, like, I have a proposition for you.
Intriguing. Okay, let's move on to 2 related words. Prosecute and prosecution.
Okay, prosecute first.
Prosecute.
You might hear, they will prosecute him for theft.
That's a serious one.
It is. Or, the company was prosecuted for polluting the river.
So it means to officially take legal action against someone.
Exactly, and prosecution is the result of that action or the people doing it.
Right, like the prosecution presented a strong case, or he faces prosecution for fraud.
And don't forget the process itself. The trial ended with his prosecution.
Yes, good point. Now, very closely linked is prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
Right, so the prosecutor is a lawyer leading the case against someone.
Got it.
Here are a few examples. The prosecutor argued that he was guilty.
Okay.
The prosecutor questioned the witness. She is a tough and experienced prosecutor.
I see. So they're the ones really driving the case forward.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and look at perspective.
Perspective.
You might say, he is a prospective buyer for the house.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or, we interviewed several prospective employees.
It suggests something is likely to happen in the future.
Exactly, like the prospective benefits of the plan are significant.
Right. It's all about potential.
It is now, let's talk about prosperity.
Prosperity.
You might hear, the country enjoyed a period of economic prosperity.
Ooh, everyone wants that.
Yeah, or we wish you health and prosperity.
So it's about success and good fortune.
Right, and it can also be linked to progress. New technology can lead to greater prosperity.
That's the hope.
It is, right. Next up, we have protective.
Protective.
For example, sunscreen is protective against harmful rays.
Very important, especially in the summer.
It is, or parents are naturally protective of their children.
Of course.
It means something helps to keep you safe.
Right. And it can refer to gear, too. The helmet is protective gear for cyclists.
Absolutely. Safety first. Okay, let's move on to protein.
Protein.
You'll often hear meat and beans are good sources of protein.
Essential for a balanced diet.
It is. Protein is essential for building muscles.
Yep. That's why athletes are always talking about it.
Right. And some people really focus on it. He eats a diet high in protein.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about protester.
Protester.
You might see the protesters march through the city streets.
Powerful image.
It is, or police arrested several protesters.
So it's someone showing their disagreement publicly.
Right, and it can be about many different causes.
Yeah.
She is an active protester against animal cruelty.
Absolutely. People protest for all sorts of reasons. Okay, next up is protocol.
Protocol.
For example, the hospital has strict safety protocols.
Very important to prevent the spread of germs.
Absolutely. Or diplomatic protocol must be followed.
So it's about the proper way of doing things.
Right. And there can be consequences for breaking it. He broke protocol by speaking out of turn.
Interesting. Okay, let's move on to province.
Province?
You might hear Quebec is a large province in Canada.
Okay. Or he grew up in a rural province.
It's a regional division of a country.
Right. And the national government often has authority over them. The national government has authority over the provinces.
Makes sense. And the related word is provincial.
Provincial.
Like this, the museum focuses on provincial history.
Okay. Or he has a strong provincial accent.
So it relates to a specific province.
Exactly. And there are often local elections. The provincial elections will be held next month.
Interesting. Okay, let's tackle provision next.
Provision.
You might see it in a contract. The contract includes a provision for early termination.
Okay. Or in planning for the future, they made provision for his retirement.
It's about planning or including something.
Right. And laws often have them. The law makes provision for disabled people.
Important to ensure everyone's needs are met.
Absolutely. All right, let's look at provoke.
Provoke.
For example, don't provoke him, he has a bad temper.
Advice.
It is, or the article provoked a lot of debate.
So it means to cause a strong reaction.
Right. Often intentionally, his comments were intended to provoke a reaction.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to psychiatric. Psychiatric.
You might hear he is receiving psychiatric treatment.
Okay, or she works in a psychiatric hospital, so it relates to mental health.
Exactly, and evaluations can be part of it. The doctor recommended a psychiatric evaluation.
Got it. The next word is psychological.
Psychological.
Like stress can have psychological effects.
Definitely stress impacts the mind.
It does. Or the book explores the psychological impact of war.
It's about the mind and how it works.
Right, and how it develops. She is studying psychological development in children.
Fascinating field.
Okay.
Next up, we have publicity.
Publicity.
For example, the event generated a lot of publicity.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
It can be negative publicity can damage a company's reputation.
Definitely. That's why companies try to manage it. They hired a firm to handle their publicity.
Makes sense. Okay, let's look at publishing.
Public.
You might hear she works in the publishing industry.
A lot of different roles in that industry.
Or the book is awaiting publishing.
It's about making books and other materials available to the public.
Right. And it's changed a lot recently. Digital publishing has changed the industry.
That's for sure. All right, let's move on to pulse.
Pulse.
Like the doctor checked his pulse.
Important vital sign.
It is, or the music had a strong rhythmic pulse.
So it's a regular beat.
Right. And you can feel it in your body. I could feel the blood pulsing in my veins.
Okay, next up is pump.
Pump?
You might use a pump for various things. He used a pump to inflate the tires.
Very useful tool.
It is. Or how about the human body? The heart is a muscular pump.
Keeps everything flowing.
It does, and sometimes you need to remove water. They had to pump water out of the flooded basement.
Good point. Okay, next up is punch.
Punch.
Like, he gave the bag a hard punch.
Okay, or in a fight, she landed a punch on his arm.
So it's a quick, forceful hit.
Right, and it can also be about pressing something. Be careful not to punch the wrong button.
Especially on complicated machinery.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to punk.
Punk.
You might hear, he used to be into punk music.
Genre with a lot of energy.
It is, or about someone's style. She has a punk rock style.
So it's a rebellious genre or style?
Right, and the music can be pretty intense. The band play a loud, energetic punk song.
Okay, next up is purely.
Purely.
For example, he acted purely out of kindness.
A good quality to have.
It is. Or The decision was purely based on merit.
So it means only or entirely.
Right. And sometimes it's a coincidence. It was purely a coincidence.
Happens all the time. Okay, let's look at pursuit.
Pursuit.
You might say, she is in pursuit of her dreams.
That's a common one.
It is. Or in a chase, the police were in pursuit of the suspect.
It's the act of trying to achieve something or catch someone.
Right. And it can be a lifelong goal. His main pursuit in life is happiness.
Who doesn't want that? Okay, last but not least, we have puzzle. Like, he likes to do crossword puzzles.
It's a good way to challenge your brain.
It is, or about a situation.
Okay.
The situation is a real puzzle.
So it's something that's difficult to understand.
Right, and finding the solution can be very satisfying. The missing piece completed the puzzle.
It is. All right, one more word to go. Query.
Query.
You might say, I have a query about my order.
Okay, or if you need help, she sent the query to the customer support team. So it's a question.
Often to an organization, they will investigate your query.
Hopefully they can help you out.
Hopefully. Okay, our final word for today is quest.
Quest.
For example, he went on a quest for knowledge.
A lifelong pursuit for many.
It is, or about a search. Their quest for the treasure led them to many countries.
So it's a long and often challenging search.
Right, and it's often for something important. It is a lifelong quest to find inner peace.
That's a good one to end on.
Yeah, so there you have it. 30 words that can really help you take your English to the next level.
Absolutely. We hope seeing and hearing these words in action gives you the confidence to start using them yourself.
Yeah, go out there and try them out in your conversations and your writing.
And if you had to pick one word that really resonated with you today, which one would it be and how would you use it?
That's a good question. I think I'd go with him.
Me too.
Well, we'll let our listeners ponder that one.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
See you next time.
Bye.